So a little something about me that has always been true. It's always been true. It's true now, probably. Is that I am super, super dense when it comes to realizing that a woman is flirting with me or coming on to me in any way. And I don't know what this stems from. I don't know if I'm just uber modest, way too humble. I don't know if I have low self-esteem. Might it be part of it? But it's filtered down into a lot of aspects of my life that are not positive, that are not very good. When I was in college, I very, very briefly, a buddy of mine and I, we had a musical background, and we both thought about, hey, let's do a band, you know. So I wrote a few songs, and he wrote some songs, and we got together and we jam and we come up with stuff, and it never went anywhere at all, and there's no recording, so don't ask. But it was fun. It was a fun thing that we did, and sometimes I wish that we had stuck with it a little bit, or at least, you know, I don't know. Anyway, but the point of this is, I'd written a song, and I was playing it for him, and I was singing it for him, and I was sharing it with him, and we were working it out. And like most of my music, and like most of the music that I listened to, I guess, it was all about some girl leaving me and me being heartbroken and all that kind of stuff. And he kind of stopped me and he was like, "Are you okay?" I still remember this very clearly, and I was like, "Yeah, why?" And he was like, "You know, all your songs are about some girl leaving you." And it's true. All the songs that I made had something about some girl dumping me, and I would say probably at the time half the screenplays that I wrote had something to do with a heartbroken guy who couldn't, you know, the nice guy that couldn't get a girl interested in him and all that stuff. And that was definitely my mindset. It was definitely what I had internalized, and it was definitely the way I pictured myself, as sort of a sad sack that couldn't get a girl interested in him and stuff. But in hindsight, after, you know, many years and looking back, I realize that no, I'm not exactly Don Juan. No, I don't have girls just dropping their panties the second I walk into a room or anything. But there have been so many cases in my life where girls were very blatantly flirting with me, and I was oblivious to it in the moment. I had no clue. And it's so shameful. I want to go back and punch myself for all those times. Not because I was going to hook up a lot or anything, but just because if I could have just seen that, I think it would have shaped the way I saw myself in a much more positive direction. You know, if I could have just seen that there were girls out there that were interested in me, and I didn't, I might not have felt like such a sad sack all the time. But I wanted to just kind of give some examples here. And the first one is just a funny thing. I was in a night class in school, and there was a girl in that class who I was very attracted to, and she was really cool. And we were walking out to her car one night, and we started talking. And she was black, so we're talking, and at one point she's like, "So have you ever dated a black girl before?" And I'm like, "No, I really haven't. You know, I grew up in a small town, not a lot of black people there, and just didn't have an opportunity and all that." She's like, "You ever kissed a black girl?" And I'm like, No, I really haven't." This is where most guys would be like, "No, but you want to change that, right?" No, not me. I'm just like, "Nope. And as if that wasn't enough, it went further. She was like, "Have you ever had sex with a black girl?" And I'm like, "Nope, never have. All right, good night." And I just walked away. And I, to my own credit, it wasn't years later that I figured it out. I got home and was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And I always laugh at that. Like, how could I have been that dense? Again, not that I was going to hook up with her that night or anything, but she was really cool. And who knows, right? But that's so sad. It's the saddest thing. When I was doing the film festivals, as it turns out, guess what? If you're a filmmaker and you're at a film festival, there's a little bit of swag that comes along with that. And I actually did get some girls that were approaching me in that space. And it also struck me, by the way, just in the form of talking about this, that it struck me how I was a nobody. I had no money. I had bankrupted myself to make this little movie that didn't even make it into any big festivals or anything. But that alone was enough that it got attention from women. I don't know what that says, but it was just an interesting phenomenon that I hadn't experienced yet. But anyway, no, I was there, and there were some other cast members that were with me, and we were all going to go grab lunch. And I had two girls approach me that were like, hey, we would love to take you out to lunch and talk to you if you're up for it. And I turned them down. I was like, well, I'm actually with these guys, but thanks. I could have invited them along. There was no reason why they couldn't have been there too. And they may have not have been interested in me in that case. They may have, or in that way, they may have just wanted to talk film stuff. I don't know. But the fact of the matter was there were two very attractive women that wanted to go to lunch with me, and I said no, and I don't know why. But here was the killer. This was the best one. At another film festival, I want to say it was in Trenton, New Jersey. It was on the East Coast because the guy that I was hanging out with is from Boston. So I want to say it was the Trenton, New Jersey, the Trenton Film Festival. Anyway, doesn't matter. I was there, and this buddy of mine and I were, at the hotel, and they were probably having not opening nights, but closing night parties and stuff like that. It was the last day that I was going to be there. We're walking up, and I had to go to my room for something. And as we're walking back down the hall from my room, the girl who had been working at the front desk, we saw her walking into a room, and she had like pajamas on, and both of us were like, "Isn't that the front desk girl?" And we kind of said something to her like, "What are you doing? You staying here?" And she explained that when they had to work, a shift early in the morning or something like that, sometimes they could just stay. If there was an empty room, they would just stay in the empty room. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Anyway, this all started a conversation, and he and I are talking to her, and we're all hanging out and chatting about stuff. Somehow, this very topic that I'm talking about right now, about how dense I am, about girls flirting with me, so I was aware of it at the time, this came up. And I mentioned like, oh yeah, I don't even see it, I'm completely oblivious, I'm an idiot, and all that kind of stuff. And it was all just for fun. Anyway, the next morning, I go to check out to head to the airport, catch my flight, and she's working at the front desk. And we exchange pleasantries. I'm like, hey, how's it going? And we do the business and everything and have a little bit of small talk. And I'm like, well, hey, it was great talking to you last night. I guess I got to go, catch my flight. And as I'm walking out the door and I got my little bag that I'm rolling behind me, I get to the door and she goes, oh, by the way, and I turn around, I'm like, yeah. And she goes, last night when you were talking about how you can't tell when a girl is flirting with you, I'm like, yeah. And she went, I was flirting with you. And I'm just like, of course you were. Yeah. Yeah, of course. So I don't know what that's about. I'm probably still like that today, and I just don't know it until later on. The joke, and I'm going to be, if you'll pardon me being vulgar for just a second, the joke that I always said was, a girl has to be on her knees with my junk in her mouth before I'm like, hey, I'm getting some vibes from this chick. Like, it has to be that extreme before I realize that, oh, okay. And I don't know. Hopefully, it doesn't matter now because I'm married. But it's just been one of those things throughout my whole life. And like I said before, the real shame in it is that I think my inability to see it shaped my inner voice and my inner monologue and the way I saw myself in a very negative way. So sharing that with you guys, and I don't know if that helps anyone to maybe re-examine their own issues in that department, because I certainly wouldn't want anybody else to to feel about themselves the way I always did. But anyway, that's me and women. It's a sad story. That's been too much information. Thanks for watching.